Hi everyone, this is Jay with ChainSafe Gaming. If you haven't heard of ChainSafe, we're a research and development firm focused on blockchain protocol research. Amongst our many accomplishments, it includes helping Ethereum move from proof of work to proof of stake, writing the code behind Avalanche's seed chain, and writing the code behind the Fowl coin virtual machine. Besides our protocol research, we also create development tools. That includes web3.js for all of your web apps and an open source modular Web3 Unity SDK. In today's talk, we'll be meeting with 3 different teams that use our SDK and were involved in our Builders program over the past 4 months. With that said, let's hop into the chat and let's meet the teams. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Jay.
Hey
Pretty
guys.
well. You're having a good day?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Nice. So I wanted to start first by introducing each one of you. For those who aren't familiar with the Builders program, they haven't tuned into any of our other initiatives. Let's first start with Parag. Talk about yourself, introduce yourself, and then introduce the project that you've been working on.
Okay. Hello, guys. I'm a decentralized game officer for Fowl Play Studios. Our team is consisting of many people around the world, consisting of gamers, developers, artists, and Solidity guys. So we are developing independent, decentralized web studio that develops games using ChainSafe's SDK, and we are building on many blockchains that are Ethereum native, that use EVM protocol.
Thanks for the introduction, and it's been cool to see the different games that you've been working on since we started this engagement. I think I've seen like 3 or 4 games come out of your studio, so it's been awesome to see the progress. Let's move over to Robert from Lovekraft.
Hi guys, I'm Robert. I'm the founder of Lovekraft. We are a collective of digital creators, and we join together in crazy projects, and some of these projects are Web3 related. And so we joined the ChainSafe program to work further on our Web3 games.
It's been really cool seeing your idea. You've been playing around with some virtual reality components and some Web3 components, so it's been cool to see how that plays out over time. Thanks for the intro, Robert. Let's move over to Alex from Isotopic.
Hey all, thanks for having me. I'm Alex from Isotopic. We are basically building the first decentralized and cross-platform game store. You can go to our platform. We have over 280 live games, and have been working to build a full ecosystem of applications for both developers and gamers alike.
Thanks for the intro. I've been testing out your marketplace as well. I've seen you have something similar to like a TikTok stream for all of the game developers, so that they can preview their games for people in the format that they're used to. So that's been cool, and seeing your Unity asset store kind of being built out, that's also been awesome to watch. So let's hop into our first question, which is, why did you decide to build in Web3 instead of building in Web2? All of the components there for Web2, but you decided to do something different. So what brought you into this space, and why did you decide to build a game in Web3? Let's start off with Robert. You're muted.
Thanks. So for us, me personally, I've been in gaming as an indie developer. I've been building games for as long as I can remember. A couple years ago, we started to look more into the Web3 space, and not just for gaming, but as a more all-round agency services. So think marketing. We do a lot of stuff with VR and AR. And so we did a couple of NFT projects, and then started to think about how to create engagement for these communities, and start building games and campaigns around this. But it's for us.
So for you, it was about a new way to engage with the community. Was there a particular component or different assets that you were using to bring those members in?
Well, we started off with NFT collections, and from there, naturally, you start to look at what can we do with these NFTs. So the first game we did was for crypto pills, and we wanted to make an engaging game where people can actually load their NFT into the game and then play as the character, and it was a cool challenge. And yeah, basically we started looking at more features from there.
Interesting. So you launched an NFT collection. They found out about these pieces of art, and then after purchasing them, they realized that they can be involved in some sort of gameplay.
Exactly. And what is also interesting is if you look at the trades, for example, people that have NFTs that have low rarity, for example, we can then, by playing this game, we can then reward them and allowing them to update their NFT with new assets or unique items, and then naturally have more control of the overall value of the collection.
Oh, that's super interesting. Because yeah, when you're getting into these collections, if you're not getting a rare one, you kind of felt like you already lost. But here, there's an opportunity to grow it into a new asset, really, and to develop that item. So that's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks,
So we basically reward the engagement through these games.
Nice. That's awesome. That's interesting. I know Isotopic, you started off as a Web 2 platform, and it seems like you're primarily focused on Web 2. So why did you decide to go into Web 3?
Yeah, that's a good question. So with Isotopic, we wanted to solve two main problems in the indie games market. One of them being that it's oversaturated with more and more games coming out, while the demand for playing them stays the same. And the other being that game developers on traditional platforms like Steam or Epic Games or other alternatives, they can end up getting less than 50% of their game sales sometimes after all different cuts and transaction costs. And we figured that the way to solve this would be by using the blockchain and essentially tokenizing the games themselves so that everything happens on the blockchain. So the gamer buys the game directly from the developer, and they also get to have full control of the game that they buy, meaning that they can trade it or resell it or otherwise repurpose the copy.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It's something that we kind of lost for a while. Everyone was buying physical games. I could trade it with my friends. I could lend it to a person. We went digital, and then we lost that opportunity. So now you're bringing that back with NFTs and owning the actual keys to the game, right? You can share that with someone else. You can resell it later.
Yeah, that's exactly what we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's an interesting take on where the gaming market is going and individual copies are going into the future. Thanks. Let's move over to Parag. So why'd you end up in Web3?
Web3 for me, because I did electronics engineering, I was naturally inclined to go to the frontier of the next generation of crypto movement. I began with a small investment. When I learned about this space when I heard about people's $69 million space. Before that, I was doing freelance and I was going different avenues and exploring what to do with my career. So I moved ahead and experimented a little with tokens and how they work. And I was an avid gamer before this. So I used to play FIFA, Most Wanted, all sorts of games. I was not a Web3 gamer at first. Axie Infinity and other games, they are good. They are frontier making, but they didn't excite me. So I went ahead and started my own studio, bringing my own visions of what games I thought I would want to play and that were not there, to bring them to life. And Web3 allows me to not only fundraise, but also build a community of like-minded people who would appreciate such games to fruition. So yeah, Web3 not only allowed me to bring, we are still in our seed phase. We'll be doing our promotions and we'll be making a lot of the games that we are showcasing in the background right now. So as things progress, you can follow me on Twitter and we can go ahead and discuss more about it.
Cool. So it sounds like a common theme between you and Robert, where that you utilize the different components of Web3, like NFTs, to fundraise for your games, for your ideas before you have the game launched. So it's a way to bring in new customers to see if you have a market there first, and then you can bring them into a game later on. So it's been interesting to see more games take that approach.
And the decentralized ownership aspect of this, because as you mentioned, Isotopic also, before GameStop, you could sell your games and items. Now there's no such place in the digital world when even more gamers, 2.5 billion gamers all around the world, and yet nobody can trade in-game items.
Yeah, so hopefully that's coming to the end, and then within the next year or two, as Isotopic kind of gains traction.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're all building in this space, and I'm sure you've run into tons of different challenges. So let's start off with Alex. What makes building in Web3 space difficult?
For us, the most difficult part of working with Web3 has been choosing solutions that fit our criteria. So for our platform, we want to create an ecosystem that's fully accessible to Web2 users, and that means that the user flow must not be impacted like at all by the blockchain or any of these things that we're integrating via Web3. So the most difficult part was figuring out which protocols, which solutions, which networks we will be using to make this. And I think it's something that a lot of projects actually go over rather quick. They either find a grant by some network and just stick with that, or they see specific benefits that the network offers without really targeting the end solution and how accessible it is to users. And that's what we spend a lot of time on before choosing to work with platforms like going to Polygon or using the ChainSafe SDK and other components that we're using.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that a lot on our side, and it's the reason why we take our approach and our philosophy behind the way we're building our SDK. We wanted it to be modular, open source, so that anyone could build on it, and we could also work with several providers. So when it came to the UX problem, we thought, we don't only need like Wallet Connect or MetaMask. It was also great to have Web3 auth so that people can sign in with their social logins. And in Comey, now we're seeing biometric sign-ins go into the market. So that's definitely a challenge that our industry is facing with UX, but there's several teams out there working, and we're all collaborating together on that issue. So Parag, what are some of the challenges that you've run into within the Web3 gaming space?
Some of the most common challenges, as you've already mentioned, are the UI, the added complexity that blockchain brings into the space should not be transferred to the gamers. They just want to have a fun experience. They don't want to know about what's running behind the hood. They just want the features without that. So achieving that path is a challenge, but I think it's a worthwhile challenge that all of us are together solving, and will be finding a better solution as years pass by.
Yeah, and I've seen more and more teams talk about chain abstraction, this idea that it's not going to matter within the next couple of years what chain you're on. We're working on something on our side. And on your side, I know some of you have also worked with Scale, which was a gasless experience for a lot of your users, so they're not even seeing that part of the process. Cool. Robert, what were some of the difficulties you've run into while trying to build a game in Web3?
Yeah, maybe I can speak to that as well. Like for us, in the end, it's about the user experience, from authentication to logging in to making a transaction or receiving an item. In the end, you want to have this abstracted as much as possible, and this is also the exact thing that I learned from this program as well. But before starting that, looking back, there was a pretty steep learning curve even outside this program for me, because there's so many different projects, there's so many different solutions. I started 3 years ago, and I had to pick the SDK that I was going to do or going to use for a specific project. And since we're an independent studio, we really need to use our time for that project and do the research at the same time, and then make the right decision. So it's difficult to navigate it in a streamlined way. So we ended up using the wrong SDK or implementation, or the wrong partnership that maybe wasn't the right fit. And this really caused a lot of delays later in the project, having to switch to different solutions. And I think for the first project we did, we switched SDKs, I think 4 times. The first one was ChainSafe, and then we needed to go to different things, and we ended up with ChainSafe again. So I guess circle is round.
Nice. Welcome back. Welcome back.
One more thing I would like to add that plagues this whole space is the perception of NFTs. I mean, it's tangential to the application of NFTs, but the perception of NFTs has been poorly received by, especially by Reddit and gamers that think that it's overly highly big investment type of approach in which just the gas fees will cost you the amount that people normally spend on gaming. So that perception will be changed by not only just we are just small players in this game, but other players in Immutable, in Polygon, many ZK EVMs, they will be using those tech to prove that good games also can be developed on blockchain. So,
Yeah, I definitely agree. We're seeing that a lot of things were super expensive, mostly because the technology is brand new. It was more of a novelty. People are experimenting with this thing, and I think that's what caused it to cost a lot of money. And people are kind of rushing into these networks, causing a lot of high congestion, so your gas fees are spiking. So that was a terrible experience for people, but it's mostly because it's new. We're still all building out this infrastructure and the toolkits. And as Robert mentioned, it's important to pick the right tools, but also to pick the right team, because when you're working with a tool, you want to make sure you have the support, and something like our builders program where we work with each one of you kind of one-on-one on your projects, troubleshooting any issues and updating our SDK if it needed. So with that said, let's jump into good.
I was just saying that gaming was a small part till now. Till now, DeFi and other stuff was very high compared to gaming, and that was taking the majority of the gas. And right now, because they have the gambling industry has moved to off chains like Solana, so the gas is low right now. Gas is also single digits at one point.
Yeah, it definitely did start to spike because of DeFi, but I think if you're going fully on chain and people are experimenting with that, like we've seen that with Dark Forest, that's processing way more transactions than DeFi, right? Because if I'm doing like a loan or something like that, maybe I'm doing it once, coming back in 3 months. But for something like Dark Forest, every single interaction that we're doing, we're on the blockchain. And that was like, at some point I saw online that it would cost $1,000 to like move a player from like one space to another, which is like absolutely insane, right? But it's because we're dealing with really rough technology in its early phases, not really ready to scale yet. Cool. So how are you getting your game in front of players? We ran this builders program with you all, not only to go over our SDK to get some feedback, but also to empower your teams through these different marketing campaigns. We had, a social media campaign. We had the spaces together. We've had the loot box campaign where you were able to get some of your games out in front of thousands of people participating in GDC by contributing to our loot boxes. So it was a great opportunity to kind of learn from developers about what your experience is like, but also a marketing opportunity. So what are other ways that you're using to get your game out in front of players that haven't heard of Web3, maybe they're brand new to the space, or even to get those Web3 players in? Let's start over with Pro.
So our main strategy for marketing is Web2. We are not going Web3 for marketing. Web3 is partnerships, giveaways, collabs. That would be Web3 part of it. That would be like giving already established projects some sort of in-game item, sprays, utilities, some sort of in-games in our games. Our games are yet to be launched, but our gameplay strategy of attracting customers, gamers, is simple. We will be paying some of our like for the sports simulation game of Kabaddi, we'll be giving some of established league players a sort of league. We are fundraising for a live action, for live buying land, and we'll be inviting some of those players to be playing this game in our Web2 studios. So once they put that experience, share that on YouTube or on Instagram, then we'll be getting more of gamers. So that's one idea we have been pursuing.
So it sounds to me like you're working with people who played Web2 games, maybe some of your old games, and giving them early access to your Web3 games in the form of giving them assets. Is that correct?
Yeah, but some of them are highly skilled players in real league of the Kabaddi game. So some of them have millions of followers. We'll be inviting them because some of them are from our village, some of them are from our connections. So we'll be inviting them and we'll be giving them and chance to play this game. But we are still polishing our games. We are still making the gameplay more fun so that the first experience with Web3 games would be seamless.
Yeah, first impressions definitely matter in this space. But that's interesting because you're using your past data to figure out who are the best players here, who are the people with the biggest following, and then inviting them to your game first. And once they start processing on-chain data, you'll have a lot more of that data to refer back to say, hey, this was the first player. Maybe I'm going to reward with them something in another game or something going far into the future.
Yeah.
Nice. So how were you able to get your game in front of players, Robert?
So we were lucky that we already had the NFT community. So, for example, for Terminal 1, there was a collection of 7,000 NFTs, and we had about 2,000 people owning them. And then it's a numbers game, so maybe there's 200 active on Discord in the beginning, and then you leave with a sort of a test group that is actively participating in doing beta testing of approximately 50 to 100. And then when you start doing campaigns with these games, then that naturally that will increase. People will start to jump in just because there's something to win. And from there, you can do all sorts of social campaigns to get more people outside of the community into it to join in on these campaigns. From the NFT space, we also allowed the campaign to specifically allow different collections. So, for example, we could do a 1-week event where if you have an NFT from another collection, you can also log in with that in the game and then join the leaderboard for the campaign event. And yeah, that's for the NFT space. In everything else, we really specifically aimed to build the game for not just the community owning the NFTs, but also build a bridge for the regular gamers. We aimed for something casual that you can easily pick up, and also looks nice. So it sort of becomes a no-brainer, maybe even to download it for free, play it a couple rounds, and then learn about, oh, there's a collection involved, there's these events, and you can earn items or whatever. And if they're interested, then you onboard them to the collection, or even without the collection, onboard them by earning assets in a wallet.
So you touched on a few things that I think are interesting. Is that first that you use the NFTs to acquire your first market, your first few customers, but then you use data from other collections. You saw, all right, this person owns maybe this collection that is maybe within the same theme of my game or is complementary to my game. Then you can give those people access to your game, maybe by token gating, right? You can check if they have this NFT that gives them early access to the game, or that gives them an exclusive skin or something in the game. So it was a clever way to figure out kind of who's within your market and would be interested in this and reaching out to them in that way. So this is a cool strategy.
Yeah, it's good to analyze this data, what collection works and what collection doesn't. In the beginning, we were very picky, like, okay, it has to match the game style, sort of. But in the end, we became much more open, and it became much more fun as well to see that contrast of this completely alien crew jumping in and competing in the same leaderboard. Now everybody has to work for it to prove that they are the OGs or whatever. So that's fun.
That becomes super interesting as like the lore behind games develop. I feel like more recently we've been seeing this with Helldivers, where people are creating their own stories, their own like background to this game. So similar to your game, since it's like kind of space-based and like futuristic, you have these original players who are the first ones that testing it out. Now you can identify who are the people coming in with this new NFT collection, and that can add some background story that even the users are creating themselves, saying like, all right, this new species is invading our game, and maybe they're taking over the leaderboard. We have to like figure out how to collaborate to beat these guys.
Exactly. And I think that is the fun thing by making these kinds of games, but specifically in Web3, is that everything is really abstract. Like what is a collection? What is, having an asset or an NFT? Or what is making a transaction? Or it's all very abstract steps that you take. But once you translate them into a narrative, people sort of understand the concept behind it, and they can have fun with it. And I think that will bring a lot of new ideas from gaming itself into Web3, what you can do with it, and it will start to make sense for a lot more people to use these technologies as well.
Yeah, when they're playing, they'll see something new, be curious about it, ask some questions, and figure out they have to like grab these other assets to get that skin or whatever that experience is.
Yeah, exactly.
Isotopic, Alex, I know that you already had kind of a base of like Web2 players because of the games that you previously had on your marketplace. How were you introducing them to the Web3 space and transitioning them over? So how'd you get it in front of them and get them to actually play these games?
So that's an interesting question. The answer is kind of that we don't really transition any user from Web2 to Web3. So I mean, the whole concept of Isotopic is for it to be usable as an ordinary platform, but with the added benefit of those technologies behind. But when it comes to generally acquiring new users and from both sides, either Web3 or Web2, what we found is that it's all about getting more games on the platform, essentially. So by having more and more games joining, then that means that we can also engage with their own communities and bring them over to our own and create fun and interactive engagements that have a lot of potential, especially with the added benefit of the games themselves being tokenized. So we can have campaigns that give away an entire game, like we did with Loot CDC. And all of those ideas are really the potential that comes from what we do.
Okay, so it sounds like your strategy is not necessarily to transition people from Web2 to Web3, but to just give people more options and show what's possible with Web3. And I've seen that on your marketplace because you gave an example. It was like a private demo we had maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, where you showed how a gamer can buy a game asset like a sword, and they were able to use that sword in a virtual reality game, but then they were also able to use it in a completely different game. It was the same asset, kind of same animations, really, where it kind of projects like some weapon out. And you were able to use that same game in the VR game, but then a 2D kind of like dungeon almost game. So that was interesting. Okay, cool. So you've all been working with us for the past couple of months. You've used some of our products. Can you tell the audience about your experience using ChainSafe's gaming suite of products, whether that's the SDK, the dashboard? What were the different features that you used, and what was your experience like? Let's start with Alex.
So the entire process was quite smooth. We have already been using some of the products like web3.js for our client side, and throughout the builders program, we've had the opportunity to go more in depth into some of the other solutions, including the SDK and even a solution like the ChainSafe storage solution for Web3. And it was really interesting to work in this program because it's much different than anything else we've been a part of, in the sense that there were calls, for example, where either of the teams had a problem with some code, and we had the opportunity to get like the lead engineer of the solution to come in and open their window and solve the problem that we were facing in front of us. We even had the opportunity to get custom push releases to this software, and it was really amazing to actually contribute myself to like the SDK for a problem we had with the scale network, and it's really all about that for me, the experience.
Awesome. You highlighted 2 things that I think are super important, which is if there's not a solution built, we will build it. And sometimes that means even getting on a call with you and building it right in front of you. We just want to build the best tools for developers, and you've seen that, from your own experience. And being modular and open source. Even if we can't build it ourselves, or if you want to build it yourself, you can do it. And Alex actually did that. He contributed to our SDK by helping us onboard Scale there. So thanks for that work. Tell us about your experience, Parag.
So I was already using this for our flagship Web3 game, Panda's Fight Club, Bazooka Boys, as we are titling it now. So we were using it for checking the balances of already existing communities and giving them players, objects, and we were partnering with them when we joined this builders program. So we found that you guys were building more and more features, adding more and more features like marketplaces, launchpad. You can directly mint in-game NFTs. we were really blown away by the amount of features, by the amount of uh, options that are available, that you can do via all the collaborative, all the in-game airdrops, marketplaces that we think are future sci-fi are now ready to be built, ready to be transformed into actual gameplay.
Yeah, that's a good point about all the different features we have for launching smart contracts. That's something that we've been thinking about for a while. A lot of people won't hire a Solidity engineer on their gaming team, but they maybe want to get into collections, they want to launch a marketplace. So we wanted to figure out, like, how do we make this easier? And that's why we created that dashboard. So if you want to launch an NFT collection, a marketplace, if you want to incorporate loot boxes into your game, you just go in there, press a couple of buttons, pay for the transaction fee, and you launch your own smart contract. So that's something that is kind of top of mind for us, and we're going to continue to work with teams like you to figure out what are the best contracts out there that you would like to see in your game, whether that's wager, tournament-based ones, and we'll help build that out. So, Robert, what's your experience been like?
Was great. We started with a very small idea of integrating or moving towards the Wallet Connect authentication, which was very nice. We were very nicely able to set it up using this the SDK. This is very flexible. We were on mobile, and for another project, we were on web, and we were able to use roughly the same source code for that. So that was a very nice experience as onboarding. But then all the other talks were given, and basically that opened completely new roads for us to explore. We really like the idea of the loot box system, and we're planning to implement that in a way to distribute not in-game assets, but actual more like intellectual property. So the backstory that will give players small hints and pieces of a puzzle that they continuously unlock. So this was a whole new road for us to explore. And then after that comes also the idea that, well, since we're focusing on mobile, we're also dealing with App Store regulations, and by obfuscating these onboarding processes and also allowing users to create wallets without even having to sign anything or know about the Web3 technology behind it. This also smooths out the process in submitting these kinds of games in app stores, and then specifically iOS, since Android is much more forgiving, I think, still. But yeah. So there's a lot we learned from this program besides the actual thing that we implemented in the beginning. Wish I had more time in doing all the implementation, but we definitely fleshed out a solid roadmap for us to continue.
I would say we definitely all learned a lot from each other. I think you brought a lot to our attention about the Apple App Store, the regulations. We started doing some research on our end on what are the leading games doing. It seems like everyone's doing kind of a point system where you obtain some points in the game, and then at a later point you exchange it for some assets on chain. I'm starting to hear some rumors that that's dying out. New models are springing up, but we're all kind of experimenting in this space and figuring it out together. So it's been some awesome brainstorming sessions with all of you. Let's move over to our next question. So you've used our tools, you build games in Web3, you have a lot of experience in this space, but what's missing here? What's something that maybe has been in the back of your head that you're like, I wish I had this tool, it would be great for our game, or a particular thing that we'd like to develop? Let's start over with Parag.
So right now what we are missing is gamers. So the best thing is to have some sort of onboarding experiences, some sort of easy to play games that people can find. Some people are just curious to know about what Web3 gaming is, and if there are a few games that just provide them this opportunity, that we could. As for the tools, I think we have all the tools for the job, and the tools are not what makes the game great. It's the developers. So as more and more people get, as one hit comes in the Web3 space, that is worldwide hit. Like Supercell is investing in the space. EA is also trying after they broke away from FIFA. They're also trying to explore Web3 space. So everybody wants to have action of this piece, of this space. This is the frontier, and we want to create some fun games. So that's about it.
The part on the players made me laugh. I think there's tons of games, even major game studios, that are trying to figure that out in this space. But it sounds to me like maybe what we can do better going into the future is figure out partners that are focused more on the loyalty side, maybe analytics to figure out who are the right customers to bring in or gamers to bring in. Maybe some marketing agencies that can expose games to these different players that they already have a network with.
We
So
need
that's
Supercell. We need ads on Super Bowl. We need, but before that, we need all the equipment in place.
I think even if we piled all of our money together, we probably still can't get the 30-second clip on the Super Bowl.
I think all the money that's poured into meme coins, I think we can do just fine. Just a couple hit games would land us there. I think the future is bright. Over to Lovekraft or Iso, whoever wants to answer.
You have to go over to all the different DAOs and try to convince them to contribute to a Super Bowl ad.
Yeah.
So, Robert, what tools do you think are missing from the Web3 gaming space? What would you like to see built?
Yeah, I think like since I'm doing a lot of, well, not really multiplayer games. Right now, I'm just making a single player game, but it is a community feel since there is a leaderboard, and I really like to explore to sort of the meta game that takes place in a leaderboard, because making a multiplayer game is already quite a lot of work besides doing a Web3 game. Though it's possible depending on the team. Like for me, I really enjoy these simple casual games that have a leaderboard. And at one point, we started talking with a major gambling online gambling company in the UK, and we had some brainstorms about what they already are doing with online gaming, and they also had sort of these casual games where they allow people to buy or earn both boosters and also nerfs, so that you can then apply to somebody in the leaderboard. So, for example, I'm number 6, and I have earned a nerf that I can sort of shoot number 5 in the foot, and then his score decreases a bit. But to be able to do that, I had to earn that. And so there's like this additional game taking place in the leaderboard, and it's obviously something you can facilitate in on the blockchain as well, either through NFTs or on the smart contract directly with depending on how your score system works, of course. But I think there's room to explore there as well, even if in the simple interactions. So I not doesn't necessarily answer the question, but for me it's like maybe the I don't know how to say it. Maybe have more also brainstorms about the creative brainstorms about what you can do. I think because in the context of, for example, the this program, we learned a lot from each other, but I think we can also have learned about more like the creative ideas that we approach certain problems, and this could be easily facilitated, of course. So maybe that's something that could be added.
Yeah, so I think a few things came to mind as you were mentioning that. First, I think is communication protocols. So there's things like Lens protocol where you can have like a profile and get to know who people are. And then there's different chat protocols. I can't think of one at the top of my head, but where you can connect different wallets and talk directly to those people. That's fairly new. I haven't seen it really incorporated into a lot of games. So that's something that can help facilitate those conversations. But then when you were talking about leaderboard, there's a lot that you can do there, right? Because like, let's say if there's a cash prize, we can have like one of our team, the best player from our team, go up there, try to win. And then if I have an asset, I can send them that asset while they're trying to compete. And we've been talking about creating these pools where if I'm a guild, if I'm a competing team in esports or something like that, we can all put our assets into this pool and it gets lent out to each one of the players so that if I'm sleeping, and you're up overnight and you're trying to compete or something like that, you can borrow like a sword or a weapon that like I earned. But then I'm not necessarily giving up ownership. It just goes back to the pool once you're done using it after, let's say, a 24-hour period or your accomplished mission. So we are talking about tools for that kind of thing, but it's such a big space to experiment with.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah, cool to see that. I'm excited to see what comes next from you guys.
Yeah, we'll definitely keep you all in the loop. You're in our private Discord channel. You have your own channel that'll remain there as part of the Builders program. So, year, 2 years, even if you want to come back, hit us up and say, hey, I've seen this new feature. Let's see how we can implement it in our game. We'll work with you to do that.
Nice.
And Alex, what do you think's missing from the space? What's a Web3 tool you'd like to see built?
So I think the current landscape of different solutions that are available is quite extensive in terms of the main advantages that the blockchain can give over anything more Web2 oriented. I think what's missing here is more solutions that focus on making user experience easier. So, and again, I'm pretty much focusing on making Web2 users' life easier throughout all my answers here, but I think it's a really important topic that needs a lot more discussion. We need to have games and applications that are accessible with the users not even knowing that they are using the blockchain. Just like when you're using an email client, you don't care if the client uses specific technologies behind it, if it's using IMAP or whatever other technology behind it. You just want to have an email, basically.
Yeah, so I think a lot of tool providers are working towards that mission, right? Is to make sure that whenever someone's interacting with my platform, they're not necessarily even aware of what they're using. Things like Web3 Auth made it a lot easier for people to sign on. Cometh, we actually sign up a bunch of people using Cometh, using biometric logins on their phone. Some of them just basically scanned our QR codes, claim our loot box, scanned their Face ID, they created a wallet and made a transaction. And most of them have never heard of Web3. They didn't even know they created a wallet. They didn't know they had one now. So that was a seamless process. So we are seeing different tools and providers move into that space. I think it's top of mind for all of us. So within the next year or two, I think it'll become a lot easier. And we've been talking about chain abstraction, as I mentioned earlier, where like no matter what chain you're on, if you want to process a transaction, I'm dealing in ETH, but I want to receive base tokens or something like that, then I wouldn't really have to be concerned with that. It processes in the background, gives me my ETH, and the person on that other network is also able to transact. So we're seeing a lot of people focus on those areas as well. So I'm pretty confident it'll get easier over the next year or two. Well, that brings us towards the end of our talk. If you have any questions, if you're watching this, no matter what platform you're on, you can type in the questions and we'll see it here. But I want to give each one of the teams their last and final message to everyone. Tell us about what are you excited about for your project that's upcoming, and how can everyone stay in touch with you and find out more about your project? Let's start with Robin.
So like I said, we really fleshed out a roadmap. We are planning to finish our last production cycle, and this is where we really focus on Web3 integration. Besides improving the gameplay and learning from our beta tests before. Just excited to implement this. We're focusing on the loot boxes and also Web3 auth and using a relayer. So really just finishing all the SDK features that we've been fed. How to follow us? Yeah, currently we are on Twitter, X. It's called VR Future. This is the owner company that founded the NFT project, and we will be releasing new information from there. There's also a Discord, and there's a website, vrfuture.io.
So vrfuture.io, right?
Exactly. And if you want to know more about Lovekraft, go to lovekraft.io. This is LOVEKRAVT.
Awesome. Personally, I'm excited to see the VR parts of this spring up and see what story unravels, because your game is highly driven by its narrative, by people discovering what this world is about. So I'm excited to uncover those pieces and see what unravels from there.
Nice.
Thanks, Robert. And let's move over to Alex. What are some last things you want to say? How can people find out about your project and keep in touch?
So the best way to stay updated is to follow us on Twitter, first of all, at Isotopic12 is the account. You can also go to our platform where everything is pretty much already live, so you can download games and try them out. You can go to our asset store if you're a developer and get some assets to make your first game. You can watch some short videos and discover new games that you might want to play through Isotopic Shorts. And you can stay updated through both the Twitter or join the Discord community or Telegram community. And I'd love to meet anyone coming from the audience there.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing your asset store continue to grow. I definitely want to check it out, figure out if I can grab an asset from an existing game, put it into my game, and teach other people how to do that. So that's going to be a fun experience. And Parag, how can the audience stay in touch with you? What are you looking forward into your project? What's next?
So you can follow me on Bon Appetit Jovi Twitter, BONAPPETITJOBI for anyone who's listening. And you can check our website at foulplaystudio.cloud. FOWL, Fowl. It's a P Fowl that's just play on words on how we do fun stuff and funny stories. We'll be doing lots of, we'll be making hype and hoopla. You'll hear more about us on the web3 space going forward. We are also doing a ERC 404 coin pre-sale a few weeks from now. So if you are interested, come join, follow me, and I'll be posting any info on my Twitter.
Awesome, thanks. I'm looking forward to test out all of your games. After this call, I'll just put each one of your contacts within the chats of each of the channels that this is displaying on, so people can follow you and stay in touch. So it's been an awesome 4 months. It was great working with you all. Glad to see your projects go over the finish line. We announced the winners for last week, so congratulations to all participating teams. And as I mentioned, we're not going anywhere. You still have access to all of our channels. You can reach out to us if you have any trouble developing anything, or if you want to see something brand new, just let us know and we'll work with you to get to that done.
Cheers, guys.
Okay, thanks
Great.
you all.
Thanks so much. It was a really cool 4 months already.
Yeah.
Insane.
Time flies by. And they say blockchain things are not only getting slower and slower, but the prophecy of Ethereum 10,000 is years away. But it will be soon. Ethereum to the moon, and let's meet up, guys. So, any questions? Any comments on the space?
Yeah, I don't see any questions in the chat or anything, so I don't think anyone's commenting on either of the platforms.
Okay, they will be soon commenting. No worries about that. So till then, we can build in silence and appreciate all of you guys. And congrats to both of you guys on your respective projects. And good to hear from you, Jay. And my regards to Gilad too.
Same to you guys.
It's been an incredible experience. Looking forward to doing more with all of you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. So now I'll hop into the next scene and give a wrap up for everyone viewing. So thanks for joining.
Thanks for having
All
us.
right, guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, there you have it. So we went over our builders program with all of the participating teams. You heard some of the feedback from their experience using ChainSafe Gaming SDK and also our Launchpad marketplaces and our loot boxes. If you're interested in building games that involve Web3 components, then give our website a look. It's at gaming.chainsafe.io. Feel free to reach out to us. Jump into our communities by joining our Discord and our Twitter, and reach out to us. Even if we have something that's not currently available and you have an idea, let us know and we'll build it together. So thanks for watching. This is Jay from ChainSafe Gaming, and we'll see you on the next one.